Hey there, welcome to the UkeStuff channel and welcome to this full UkeGuide review of this instrument. This is the Tom Carbon Fiber Concert Ukulele AM-C-BK. It really isn't full carbon fiber. It is polycarbonate with some carbon fiber mixed in, just like all the other instruments in its class. I'm not saying it doesn't have any carbon fiber, but it is a little misleading to call it carbon fiber right off the bat. A lot of companies do things like that. There is carbon fiber in it, but it's generally polycarbonate reinforced with some carbon fiber. Now, before I go any further, I do want to disclose that this instrument was sent to me for review purposes by Tom. So I am marking this video as a sponsored video. There was no other payment received to make this video. I will review an instrument from any company if they want to send it to me for review, whether they let me keep it or I'm supposed to send it back. I just mark these as sponsored videos, a paid partnership, when they are sent to me for review purposes. All right, what we're going to do is we'll talk about some subjective categories that I look at with all instruments. Then I will go over the specifications, and then I'll summarize the instrument and give it a UkeGuide rating out of 5 possible ukuleles. If you don't want to watch the full video, because these get long, you can skip ahead using the slider underneath. There's also an index in the description. And there's also the full UkeGuide, a one-page summary document on my website at UkeStuff.info if you want to download that and read through it as well. All right, let's begin with the subjective categories. First of all, cost. These tend to be around $85. Now, I'm seeing the price fluctuate a little bit from nearly $90 to just under $80, depending on color and so forth, and that's Amazon dynamic pricing. But nonetheless, I'd say around $85, which is right at the normal price point for what you're seeing for a polycarbonate ukulele these days. Now, in terms of value, the value exceeds the price for a couple of reasons. First of all, it is a solid, good ukulele, but you get some other things, so let's take a look at those. The first thing you get is a really decent gig bag. This would be a great gig bag for so many ukuleles, not just the polycarbonate. I think of, for example, Enya Nova and the sort of clamshell foam case that you get. It's functional, but not functional at the same time. This is a traditional case. It has padded straps. It has a padded handle. It does not have a bumper on the bottom. It has a pretty good size pocket, and it even has a spot where you can Velcro the top of your instrument in so it doesn't move around too much, with pretty decent padding. I'd say around 10 millimeters of padding. That is a really nice case that is probably worth $30 or more on its own. So that is a good added value. And then you get some other stuff as well. Just so you're aware, I've also given this feedback to Tom already so that they're aware of it. They do include a neck strap for your ukulele that goes into the sound hole of your ukulele and then clips on. They do give you one strap on, but not a second. And I would prefer that the company send us a Tom branded strap with 2 strap ends on it and put a second strap end on the instrument. I do know that some players prefer a clip, Jake Shimabukuro, for example. So I'm not criticizing those that want to use this. I just find that anytime that my ukulele isn't securely held to me and I'm teaching, for example, I don't want it to accidentally slide off and fall off. So I would definitely prefer the other kind of strap. The other thing I found out by accident is just when I was messing around with the strap is that this sound hole ring actually will come off. Now, that could be solved with a little bit of super glue in just a couple of seconds, but that was kind of surprising. When I put on the strap clip, it kind of popped out as well. Now, you do get a couple of other things as well. You get the Tom Introductory Ukulele course. It's really well done. Not everything translates perfectly into English at the moment. That's okay. There's also links to videos with English overdubbed on top. It's going to be a good starting guide for anybody looking for a starting guide. So no criticism there, and they're open to feedback on that too, which I am very thankful for. You also get Tom ukulele strings. You get fluorocarbon strings, not like some off-branded thing. You get their branded fluorocarbons that are already on the instrument. That's nice. You get a guitar/ukulele capo. I'm not a fan of that. If you're going to include a capo, I'd prefer that it just be an ukulele capo because the guitar capos just are too long and get in your way. Ukulele capos can as well. So I'm just not sure this is necessary for a beginner ukulele player. I know it allows you to change keys pretty easily when you know the chords in C, but realistically, there are better capos out there, and if you need a capo, you're better off getting one of those. However, if you're looking for a capo, I would highly recommend the G7 company Nashville ukulele capo. It sort of sits upside down and stays out of the way of your hand. That's my favorite capo at the moment if you need one. And then they include a cloth, which is nice because this instrument in black is definitely a fingerprint magnet. Picks, plastic picks. I've let the company know that really on ukulele, some people will use a plastic pick, but generally we go for leather or felt. So hopefully they'll consider that for the future as well. But all that together is a pretty good value for $85. The gig bag and the instrument itself for $85 is a good deal than the added stuff. What you don't get is a tuner, and that's okay because there are plenty of ways to tune your ukulele, from your phone to the Uke Buddy website to buying a clip-on tuner. Many, many ways to do that. So you probably don't need it as much as we did at one time. Now, in terms of build quality, there are only a couple things I want to mention. First of all is the sound hole rosette. That's new today, of the sound hole rosette being able to come out. That was kind of, again, of a surprise. I don't know if that's a flaw, but I might want to glue it in later. But the action is high. We'll get into that with playability. And it's significantly high, enough that it's causing some detuning of the ukulele and causing me some grief as I play up at the first fret. Second, there is one spot on the bottom, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it, where, there it is, you can see it right there, where there's a flat spot in the finish. And I'm not sure if glue or something was dripped onto it after the finish was put on, or if it's underneath the finish. But I've thought about that. And if this was my instrument that I bought new, how would I feel about that? Now, that is hidden at all times while I'm playing. But how would I feel about that? I'm not yet sure. Because again, this one was sent to me for review purposes. I didn't have to buy it. So I don't know how I'd feel if this was my own. I might be tempted to send it back for that. Not sure. One of the things I do in these reviews is I let you see what's happening on the inside of the ukulele. So let's take a look at the inside of this Tom carbon fiber concert ukulele. As we look at the back, see if I can get a little further in there. You can see that it has a tail block. Not sure what that piece is between the tail block at the top there. You can see that there is just a glued body, and it's all formed on there. You can see that there are some horizontal and I believe some vertical supports on the top. There's where the strings are popping through from the slotted bridge, which sort of acts a little bit like a pull-through bridge, actually. Can't get a view of that upper bridge piece there, the bridge support plate fully, to let you see what's actually going on there. But yeah, those strings are definitely sticking through there, and it doesn't look like there's a specific plate underneath that that's designed to make it super thick. And you can see that one rib coming right down the center of the instrument. All right, let's take a look at the upper bout. Okay, as we look at the upper bout, you can see that there's the neck support plate. Kind of an interesting design overlapping there. And there's not a whole lot else to see here, other than you can see the ridge where the top is glued on and the smooth formation of the bottom. So yeah, it's exactly what you'd think of a polycarbonate ukulele, some supports built in. That's our quick look at the inside of the Tom AM-C-BK. Now, in terms of appearance, it's a pretty plain looking ukulele. It definitely looks modern with the design and the materials, but it's definitely also kind of classic, but it is very plain, and it is helped out by this sort of chrome rosette here that exists, and making a note that I need to make sure that I glue that in. In terms of availability, it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Tom is coming back to the United States. They had left for a little while, if I understand correctly, before they were imported by someone else, and now they're directly importing themselves. So they're reestablishing their presence here in the United States, which is kind of exciting because I have noticed that a lot of brands have disappeared. So it's nice to see one coming back. I do have a Tom ukulele that I've kept from the past, It is my mahogany concert, black mahogany concert, that I have strung with Paper Romero baby baritone strings, and I use it on all of my tutorials for baritone because I like playing concert scale size, and it's nice to have the baritone tuning so I can teach baritone as well. So I do know Tom, I do have a respect for the company, and it's nice to see that they're coming back into the United States market. That said, not everything is available all the time. This one, I believe, as I looked at it as I was making this video, it was out of stock, but I understand that they're continuing to restock as they bring in new shipments. And it's probably tricky right now. This is summer of 2025, where we have all sorts of question marks as it comes to tariffs and other things. In terms of playability, it's not as playable as it could be, and really for two reasons. The first one is it has a 36mm nut, which is nice, but the string spacing is super tight, as you'll see in the specifications. So it's actually more narrow than like the 34mm nut ukuleles that I've reviewed. So that is something that could be adjusted a little bit to make better use of that 36mm nut. On top of that, the action is pretty high, especially at the first fret. It's not as bad at the 12th fret, but at the first fret, yeah, its action is almost double of what I prefer. Not quite, but it's close, and that's an issue. So as I'm playing, I'm pulling notes out of tune because I'm having to press too far, particularly at the first fret. So that's one problem, and then it also makes it more difficult to play. And this isn't directly connected to playability, but it kind of is. Without any side position markers, I have to make sure that I'm looking at the front of the ukulele as I'm playing rather than just looking at the side, because otherwise I don't know where I'm at, especially on a black ukulele. So it's really important for me to have side position markers. And if you've watched this channel in the past, you'll know that that automatically limits the score to 3 out of 5 ukuleles. So that gives you an idea of where this is going for a score at the end of the video. The only other thing I wanted to add is that with this matte finish, it is a little slippery, and I think there could be some texture in the paint or the finish to make it a little more grippy. I don't want it super grippy. I don't want to be playing sandpaper, but if I have sweaty hands, this might get slippery at times. All right, now that we talked about playability, let's get into sound quality. I think the sound quality is good. It's just different than what I normally prefer. I am a person that likes bright sounding ukuleles, although there are extremes. For example, I had a Koaloha that was the spruce Koaloha, the OPO, and with clear fluorocarbon strings, it was way too bright. So you can go too bright on me. But this instrument is warmer than it's bright, and it comes off a little bit plasticky. It's not terrible, but it does come off more so than other polycarbonate ukuleles that I've reviewed. And I am going to do a video with the polycarbonate ukuleles that I have around, and that'll be a follow-up video to this one to let you hear some comparisons between those different instruments. So with that in mind, I do think that polycarbonate ukuleles fall into two camps for me. One is like the Lava, the other is like the Enya Nova concert ukulele, or the Rosen, or like the Halo Halo, the new Kanalea plastic ukulele, or the Donner, the really narrow ones. I think you have two trends there. This one trends with a body shape and a deep body shape, ends up being about 2.5 inches deep at its deepest part. I think it falls in that lava slash populele warmer sound category, almost a little plasticky. So you're going to get more low end than you do high end on the instrument, and that's even true with the overtone. I'm finding that the lower end is resonating longer than any overtones that you hear as well. So it's not exceptionally loud. It's not quiet. It's loud enough. You'd hear yourself in a group, but it's not a super loud instrument, and it definitely favors the darker side of the spectrum. Another thing I do in these videos is that lets you see what I'm hearing by playing the instrument into the app Tonal Energy Tuner, which is what I'm about to do right now. I'll play the C chord and let you see what happens. Here we go. The app doesn't lie about what it's hearing. But at the same time, I heard sound continuing for about 5 to 6 seconds, but it's not a lot of overtones. It's a lot of the low end. Now, the overtones I think are there. It's just the low end sort of dominates it, making it a very warm sound. So if you are a person who likes a warmer sounding ukulele and you are interested in a polycarbonate ukulele, the Enya Nova is definitely not the route for you to go. It's something like this, like the Lava or like this Tom concert ukulele. All right, now that we've talked about the subjective categories, let's get into the specifications. This is a concert ukulele with a measured scale length of exactly 15 inches. It has 18 frets with 14 to the body, and it does not have any side position markers. The body style is a double bout. The soundboard, the body, the back and sides, the fretboard, the bridge, everything is made out of a polycarbonate / carbon fiber mix. It is not a radius fretboard, so it's flat. Makes it a little different than the Enya, which does have a slight radius. The nut and saddles I mentioned are, again, that same mixture of polycarbonate and carbon fiber. It is not a compensated saddle. The finish is a matte finish. There are different color options as well. There's a black and white, and I cannot remember at the moment what the third choice is. The overall length is just under 23.5 inches from the tip to the bottom, not counting the strap button, and it weighs 1 pound, 4.5 ounces, and it is a little body heavy, The tuners are open geared tuners. They work very well, nice quality tuners. Some people will probably not like the fact that they stick out so much. That doesn't bother me, but again, some people are very particular about what they want tuners to look like. The action is where this instrument is suffering, and the good news is it is adjustable to a point. So I am reading 0.91 millimeters from the top of the fret to the bottom of the string at the first fret, and at the 12th fret, I'm reading 2.91 millimeters. Now, 2.91, close to acceptable, 0.91, way too high. So I'm going to have to work on this one a little bit. I don't know if I want to try to actually file down the nut to achieve anything. I will start off by trying to lower the saddle and see what I can do. But you can actually see that those strings sit pretty high off of the fretboard. So the good news is it is adjustable. I don't know how much yet, and maybe I'll make a follow-up video about that. Not sure. The nut width is 36.3 millimeters, which is awesome, but the space at the first fret is where we're having trouble between the strings. I'm getting about 7.7 millimeters between each string, and actually that wasn't consistent between the four, but just kind of on average 7.7 millimeters. It's 25.9 millimeters from G to A on the outsides from string to string. That's really tight, 25.9. So there is so much more space. An average import ukulele starts at like 28.5 millimeters. This is 25.9. So there is some room to improve there if they can. It's very expensive to change injection molds. So something to think about. And finally, the depth of the neck. It is a C-shaped neck. It's rounded. It seems to be a little D-like. It's not quite perfectly C. It's a little D-like, but even with that high action, it's 21.9 millimeters from the top of the strings at the third fret to the bottom. That makes it not too bad, really, from instruments that I've reviewed. And when the action is lowered, that number is going to come down as well. So the neck is fine. The neck is fine. No real complaints there. It isn't quite C-shaped, so I kind of like that a little bit. I think when the action is adjusted, the instrument is going to become much more of a joy to play. All right, now that we've gone over the subjective categories and the specifications, let's summarize the instrument and give it a rating out of 5 possible ukuleles. As a reminder, this instrument was sent to me for review purposes. I was not paid any additional funds to review this instrument. I will review anything that is sent to me, but I do mark those videos as sponsored videos. Now, while this instrument does likely have carbon fiber in it, I'm not going to do an analysis of the makeup of it. It is not a solid carbon fiber ukulele such as the close ukuleles. That's fine. It is polycarbonate with some carbon fiber mixed in, which is true of much of the polycarbonate world of ukuleles that exist today. I would say this instrument aligns more with the Populele Generation 2 and the Lava U ukuleles than it does instruments like the Enya Nova, the Rosen, the Donner polycarbonates, or the new Halo Halo um, Kanalea polycarbonate ukuleles. This instrument is deeper than the Enya Nova and those other thin sort of polycarbonate ukuleles, so it has a much warmer sound, but it also can sound a little more plasticky. The tom comes with a really nice gig bag. It has some good accessories, and it's priced well. It's generally comfortable to hold, although I think that the finish could get a little slippery at times, and it does have a more traditional look. The action is high, gotta admit, and the saddle is adjustable. So I'm going to give that a shot and see how that fixes it. There are no side position markers, which is a disappointment, and that's going to limit the score here to a 3 maximum. But I do think this is a good addition to the options. It's cheaper than the Populele, it's cheaper than the Lava U, and you get the same sort of tonal qualities out of it. So I like that. I would definitely recommend this ukulele if you'd like a warmer tone, and maybe you do something like the nail polish on the side or the silver Sharpie and you just replace it as it wears off, something like that if you need side position markers. So, what rating would I get this? I think you're already with me. This instrument should overall get a higher rating than this if it had side position markers, but as such, it's limited to just the 3. So this instrument gets a 3 out of 5 possible ukuleles. I do want to thank Tom for sending me this instrument for review. I do like it. I do think it has potential. I think there are some things that can be done to change it a little bit to make it even better. The two things would be if there's any way to add side position markers, and the other one would be making sure that the action is better adjusted on it. I'm not sure if the string spacing up here is adjustable or not. All right, thanks so much for joining me for this video. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.